We dated for a few more months
Yeah.
before I asked you to marry me.
And I said no.
And you said no.
Hello and welcome to Kept in Her Heart, where we talk about all things faith-related. I'm your host, Jenny Fuchs. Today, Ross and Laura join us. Ross actually was in seminary when he discerned out, and together they discerned the vocation of marriage. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So Ross, can you just tell us a little bit about your vocation journey?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in a Catholic family, and around middle school or so was when the faith started becoming more important to me. And at the time, it was just kind of became the only thing that seemed very real. A lot of other things started to sort of fall away. I started to lose a lot of interest in sort of the world's promises for what you can do with your life and everything. But the faith seemed like something that was actually really solid, and I found a lot of firm ground there, which was I'm really grateful for. And it's like partway through my high school years that really came alive on a confirmation retreat where I actually don't remember if it was the confirmation retreat that I was attending in order to be confirmed, or a year or two later when I would volunteer and just be one of the high school helpers on the retreats for the younger grades. But time of adoration and just being given a beautiful moment of clarity where it seemed that everything in the world just was clear and right and the way it should be. And receiving that gift from God in the moment of adoration and thinking to myself that if I could know at every moment what it is I know now, the depth of God's love for me, how perfect His plan is, how wonderful a life lived for Him would be, if I could know those things at all times the way that I know them right now, I would never sin. If I could know those things at all times the way that I know them right now, I would never need to worry about anything ever. And I remember talking about that with other people after that experience, when we were just recap of how the retreat went and everything. And being able to articulate that the first time was really powerful and just sort of set everything else up for my life. So from there, I graduated high school, and I, like I mentioned, didn't really buy the whole world's plan thing, so I didn't want to go to college. I went and I joined a group called NET Ministries and served as a missionary for a number of years. During my time working as a missionary with NET Ministries, I developed a life of prayer, actually taking time every day to spend time with God and to dwell with Him more and draw closer to Him. Continuing to struggle and grow through things, grow in virtue, and try to practice the things that a person ought to be doing in life. During my time working with NET, I encountered this religious order called Miles Christi, and it was on a retreat led by them, and their apostolate is to lead retreats, and NET Ministries leads retreats. So encountering them in that way was very this is really beautiful. And the way that he presented spirituality, the way they were Ignatian, so they follow the spirituality of Saint Ignatius, and that spirituality was very attractive to me. The practicality of it, and the straightforwardness of it, and the simplicity of it. You're laughing.
I'm laughing because women aren't straightforward.
Well, this is very Ignatian. They're a very manly religious order of men. So they were very attractive to me, and so I entered into a spiritual direction with one of the priests there, and eventually joined them. So I joined them as a postulant to continue discerning religious life with them, religious life as a priest, and they welcomed me in, and I lived with 3 other men. I moved to Michigan to their formation house with 3 other men, and we all began our formation experience together with them. And there were a lot of big difficulties, and nothing too major. And I think that was part of the really big frustration for me, is that it wasn't a very clear solid, this thing is wrong, which was really frustrating because, I would like some clarity. I would like very, very direct, like, okay, well, what do I do now? Where do I go now? And being there with them, I received so much grace, so much guidance, so much formation. I experienced through like studying classes with them, because like I mentioned, I didn't really do college after I graduated high school, but here I was in religious formation, and that actually, requires at least with this order and the way that they approach being a priest and being a missionary priest, one who leads retreats and offers spiritual direction and things like that. Like, it does require a level of formation in the humanities, in world history, in literature, in poetry, as well as the philosophy and the theology that we usually think of when you think about priestly formation. So we're reading these works of literature, and we're studying American history and world history and things like this, and I, during that time, experienced what Paul talks about in the renewal of your mind in the letter to the Romans. And I realized the importance of good education. And it was a really beautiful thing for me, because I didn't really have a good experience of education, not a very fulfilling experience of education growing up. And here I was being given something that was actually like, no, this is actually really good. This is actually doing what education should do. It's shaping the way that I look at the world through the work of people who have come before and who have studied the world before and who have learned all these things. And I'm walking into that same tradition with the rest of them and receiving the good things from them. And so it was a really beautiful moment. So all that to say that I received a lot while I was there. Really beautiful time. But at the same time, still struggling with this idea of the idea that the priestly and religious vocation is better, therefore I must do that. And it gets into tricky things with this, because when it comes to each of us, like there is the objective reality of the vocation itself, and then there's the subjective experience of each of us, and it is true that the objective reality of the consecrated life is a higher call in its spiritual core. But if that's not what you're called to, it doesn't matter how good it is. So here's me, struggling through this and thinking like, no, I have to do this. I really do have to do this, and I have to push through. And I'm struggling with, maybe just more emotional struggles. Just like, sort of a sadness, or just an acedia, just like sort of listlessness, that losing interest in things, and this would come in waves, and thinking something's not right, but I can't quite put my finger on it. And at a certain point, like through all this discernment, I'm speaking with my spiritual director about it, and we're having conversations, and I'm speaking with another priest in the order about it, and we're having conversations, and then eventually the superior at my community said, you know what, I want you to have a conversation with another priest from another order. And he was a man that we had both met, and he knew him well, and I had met him during my time with NET Ministries, and so I had met him, and he understood more of where I was coming from, and he's outside the order, and so he's like, all right, here's a man that both of us trust. We know that he's an incredibly holy man, and he's going to help you a little bit, so just have a conversation with him. So I had a conversation with him, and the fruit of that conversation was, it's okay for me to leave the order. It's okay to move back to Minnesota. And then I decided that I didn't want to. And so it was just this beautiful moment of freedom, of relief, of I can leave whenever I want. And then I ended up staying for another couple of months at least, of just in a place of complete and pure peace, and being joyful that I'm there, and being grateful for everything that I've been given there. And then at a certain point, realizing like, I think that I just don't want to be here, which is mind-blowing to me. Whereas like the only reason that I don't need to stay here is because I just don't want to, and that's okay. Like that's a legitimate enough reason for my situation and my circumstances and everything else that was going on. It was a good enough reason for me to say I just don't want to be a priest with this order. oh, okay, how's that? Yeah. Makes me feel pretty good. Okay, great. Then you can go. Wonderful. And it's just like a peaceful letting go and a peaceful walking away, and deeply loved the priests that were there. And one of the priests over there was actually at our wedding, celebrating at our wedding, because he was a very close friend and very close during this time and helped me a lot. Anyway, I moved back to Minnesota, and this was in the spring of 2021. Moved back to Minnesota and reconnected with some friends, joined a Bible study, of which Laura was also a part.
I was also born and raised Catholic. My dad was Lutheran, but otherwise it was totally Catholic. I went to a Catholic school, but I didn't really delve into my faith or really dig in at all until college, because I think I went to a Catholic school until 8th grade. But then I went to a public high school, and that was just a stark difference. And I just didn't have the support I needed to grow in my faith. So it kind of fell away a bit. Still went to church every week, but really wasn't living my faith like I should have been. After high school, I went to college. I went to St. Thomas, and that's where I met one of my best friends now. Her name is Mackenzie, and God really worked through her to bring me back to Him. She is just fabulous. She was really pursuing her faith. She's actually converted to Catholicism, and I just found something in her that was joyful and free, and she was so welcoming to me. And we were roommates sophomore year because of a mutual friend. And from sophomore year on, I just started to see her living her faith and want that as well. So she invited me to join one of her sorority, or a sorority that she had created with some other ladies. And we held each other accountable and really just tried to pursue God in our lives. So that was a big turning point in my faith. Unlike Ross, I had never really thought about religious life. I had always felt pulled to marriage throughout maybe middle school through my adulthood, because it had just always been the thing that I wanted to do. And so I never really explored other options. So Kenzie really helped me to grow in my faith. She showed me what a relationship with God should be and can be. And I started to pursue that. But something that was holding me back was just sin with purity. I was struggling with that a lot. And it was really weighing me down. But a turning point in that was when I was probably going to confession almost every day, to be quite honest. And I was feeling really defeated. I had gone to confession in that morning. I think it was during the daytime, because I went to confession. And then I went to adoration afterwards and just was sitting with God, feeling really down and saying, this is terrible. And after a while, I gathered my things to leave, and God said, Laura, don't run away from me. He really wanted to just be there with me. And I realized He's been pursuing me, and I just need to let Him and start to pursue Him back. So that was a big thing. In hindsight, I realized this is God showing me what dating is. And I had never dated anyone up till that point, or past that. I guess I could say I was dating God at that point. Because I really did. I thought that He was kind of giving me things. He was wooing me into loving Him. I was nervous about going on this retreat. I think it was my first retreat. And He sent me this beautiful swirling snowstorm that I thought was just for me. On that retreat, I thought I was really nervous about going to confession for probably the first time. No, this must have been after. I've lived so long, I don't remember all these things anymore. There's so many things. Yeah. It was a confession I was nervous about, regardless of when it was. But there was a CD playing of worship music, and it started to skip really badly. And I was that was just for me because it made me laugh and it made me loosen up.
Yeah.
So that was a fun thing. years later, I was on a retreat, a silent retreat, and I said, God, I really want to see an owl. And he showed me an owl. It like swooped in front of me and landed in a tree up there. And anyway, basically he was wooing me for all that time. And so I would say that's from college to around 2021 when I really started to like grow in confidence, and when I started to get to know you and really date other guys, because you moved home, but we didn't start dating.
Yeah, we didn't start dating right away. So when I moved home and joined that Bible study, it was friends of mine that I grew up with from high school, and one of them was Mackenzie, and her now husband, and then a few other people from St. Pat's, just close friends of mine from growing up. That group that
they were my college friends.
Jumped into, in college. So we had actually met
at
years
Brandon's birthday party.
Years earlier, yeah. We think at our friend Brandon's birthday party, where we just crossed paths, and then like would cross paths at those sorts of gatherings just from time to time while I was working with NET and she was in college, and I was working with NET and discerning where should I go after this, and really considering religious life. So I met plenty of girls who at first thought I was like, oh, she's pretty, and then I just kind of like, well, not right now because I'm discerning religious life, so I just moved on. And so Laura was one of those girls that just like, oh, pretty girl. Anyway, just, moved on. And you didn't notice me at all.
No, I didn't. Well, because I had known from when I met him that he was going, I think we met right before you went to Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
With Miles Christi.
Sure.
Excuse me. So I had just always known that he was off the table.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, so I moved back from Miles Christi, and still hadn't fully answered that question yet. So I knew that I wasn't meant to be a priest with Miles Christi, but I still did feel an attraction to the priesthood. So that was when I decided to enter the Archdiocesan Seminary here in St. Paul, Minneapolis. So I did that, and kind of halfway through the first semester there, I joined in the fall and went through a fall semester, and great relationships with the guys there, a lot of cool young men that were in formation and that were studying there, and then pretty much the same experience I had with Miles Christi, just kind of abbreviated because it was so familiar and so fresh in my mind. It was just like, no, I don't think I want this. Like, I just don't want to be here. And I remember having a conversation with my spiritual director there, who was saying like, oh, okay, sure, okay, so we'll, I was like, no, I mean like at the end of the semester. Like, I think after the semester's over, I think I'm just gonna be done. He's like, oh, okay, that's quick. and that's not something you're supposed to do. A lot of men, when they join the Archdiocesan Seminary, they're told like, stay here for 2 years. And that is such a critical time, and the formation priests there were completely okay with me because of my history and what where I was coming from and what I was doing and everything. They were like, no, it's okay. Like, we're not going to compel you or tell you that you should stay here for 2 years. So I told the whole seminary, I was like, yeah, you're not supposed to do this, but I'm leaving now. And they all laugh, and so they give me my farewells and everything, and from there I'm pretty much set. I'm like, I know that I want to be a teacher in some capacity, whatever that's going to look like, and I know that I want to get married. So let's try this. And there was a woman who I had asked out on a date, and we went on a date, and then she was like, no, I don't really want to date anymore. I said, okay, and that was kind of hard for a moment, but it was surprising to me how quickly that moment passed. And throughout this whole time, we were still doing Bible study, right?
Yeah.
So we were still crossing paths. They all lived in St. Paul, still really close to St. Thomas, where I was in seminary. So I was still seeing them, like every few weekends or whatever. I'd still see them plenty. And then pretty soon it was just, well, I should ask Laura on a date. And
backing up a little
Yeah,
bit,
let's back up.
when you decided to discern out,
Yeah.
I was coming home from, I don't know, you were just visiting,
oh
I
yeah,
think?
yeah. It was I don't know, December or something. So it was before the semester was over, but it was at the point where I had, decided and been, like the news was public at this
Yeah.
point. So
So
I was visiting.
often during that semester, he would be at our apartment visiting all of our friends, and I would come home late as he's leaving.
Yeah.
I was
So,
out
yeah,
doing
we
sports or something.
We didn't
but
spend a lot of time
no,
together
we
that
didn't.
semester. Yeah.
No, which is probably better.
Yeah.
So you told us that he was discerning out, and I just remember like getting there, you were on the couch, and I put my stuff down, and you stood up and you said, "I'm discerning out of seminary." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And it felt really significant to me for some reason, but like I hadn't really like considered him at all at that point. But later on, we're like, "Oh, it was significant because it was significant."
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So that was kind of fun. But
Yeah.
But yeah, so after he had went on that date with the other girl, he asked me out on February 13th.
Yeah.
He asked me to be his Valentine the next day, and I was like, what?
Which I didn't realize. I didn't realize this was a rather bold move. I didn't think of it in that way. I was like, no, Valentine's Day. It's a romantic day or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. And I had gone on several dates with other people, and none of it had worked out before. I was really interested in another guy when he asked me out, but we ended up going out, and we ended up continuing to go out.
Yeah.
And
I followed all the rules, or like the basic, I don't know, just like what people say or what I generally hear. Like, by the third date or fourth date or whatever, you should have a conversation about defining the relationship and, where is this going and everything. And is this exclusive? Are we just going to, pursue this together, and being clear about your intentions and all that kind of stuff? So I was just kind of doing that.
yeah.
And
we did.
Yeah.
We had built a fort, and we were playing Scrabble, and we had decided, okay, let's be boyfriend girlfriend, and then we did, and then we both freaked out a little bit, because for me, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to just be with him, and I don't know why.
And for me, it was like, I just don't even really know what that means. Like, in a way, I hated the whole idea of like, oh, we're boyfriend, girlfriend now, as if that the word changes really anything. So I was like, okay, well, what has actually changed?
Yeah.
Because up to that point, like, we were going on dates, and we weren't going on dates with anybody else. So nothing had really changed. And so that kind of caused me to be like, what does this even mean? Like, what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Just silly jittery things,
Yeah. Yeah. But with any relationship, we started to get to know each other. We liked each other a lot. But for me, there was this nagging, like, I still kind of like this other guy. And this is really hard. This doesn't feel fair to him. And so I broke up with him. What was it, May?
Yeah, late May or something like that. It was a Sunday. We went for a walk. And I told you basically what I was told when I was in discernment. Was just like, you're free to go. Like,
oh, did you say that?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I remember having that conversation. I remember saying to you, like, you are completely, like, I'm willing in either case, and I would love to continue dating you, but if you don't want to continue dating me, then like, you're free. You can say no, and you can leave. And then you said, all right, yeah, I think that's what I want. And I was like, all right, that's a bummer.
Yeah, and it was a bummer. So we went our separate ways, and I immediately was like, what did I just do? This guy likes me, and I like him. And pretty much immediately I was like, what? I shouldn't have done that. So that was my answer. So then I don't know, I wrote you a letter or something.
Yeah, you wrote me a letter.
We decided to
and we're still
take a little time.
Yeah, we're still in close circles, you know. So she was actually she was living in an apartment with a couple of her friends, one of them Mackenzie, and I was living in an apartment with Mackenzie's. Were they engaged by then?
Yes.
So yeah, so my close friend Brandon, now they're married, but anyway, so we were all in like I was in the guys' apartment, they were in the girls' apartment, and we hung out with each other all the time.
It was a duplex.
It was a duplex in one
we
house.
were on the bottom.
So
they
we were in one
building.
building.
Yeah, we should mention that.
So
it
yeah,
was the same.
so we were really in close circles. So we had a short conversation about like, okay, well, what can we, what should we expect of each other during this time, because it's going to need some, a little bit of care while we're doing this. And so it was a little awkward. It was difficult. It was challenging. It was strange.
Yeah.
I ended up missing you a lot, which was a new sort of experience for me, to have that sort of like mourning almost, where it's just like, no, I lost something that I really am really drawn to, and I don't have that, and that was really sad, and I was really hurt, and I was really just like, yeah, I think just sad is just the word, like I was just very sad about it. And I missed you a lot. And I ended up talking with a couple friends of mine, and we would have conversations. And I think, I don't remember at what point, maybe it was like, when we broke up, we decided, okay, in a couple weeks, we should check in with each other just to be able to clear the air. Because like we were like giving each other space and time and everything, but after a couple weeks, let's at least have a conversation. So we decided to have a planned conversation 2 weeks from now, where we'll actually just sit down and talk. Until then, we don't really need to spend time with each other. So we were having that conversation where you told me that you made a big mistake and you want to get back together and whatever. And I said, I don't think that's what we should do right now. So just because it was still really raw for me, and I didn't want to make a decision based on or coming from a place of, I don't know, coming from a place of hurt or
desolation.
Desolation.
That's the Ignatius.
Yeah, that's the Ignatius. There it is. Yeah. So it's like, now is not the time to make a decision. And you didn't really like that.
No.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't remember a lot of this. This was a long time.
Yeah. We decided that we were going to, or at least I decided that I was going to pray a novena.
I did as well, the 50-day.
The 50-day, yeah, just because that seemed like a significant, or like, a substantial enough amount of time. And during that, like while I was praying and going through it, maybe a couple weeks passed where I was having lunch with a friend of mine, or no, we just went out for a drink, and I was talking with him about this whole thing, and this is another instance of somebody just offering me guidance and saying like, you can do what you want to do. Because I was talking to him about how like, no, I really like her and she kind of wants to get back together with me, but we're praying this novena, and then when that's over, then I'll ask her back out again. And he was like, why don't you just ask her out?
Like you both want to date each other.
Like you both want to date each other. Why not just date each other? That's a great idea. So the simplicity is beautiful. I love the simplicity and the freedom of just like, no, like you're not discerning between like this. You're not like in this struggle of temptation between like doing something wrong and doing something good. You're in a situation where like you're deciding whether or not you want to do a good thing. Well, just do the good thing. Like it's a good thing to pursue, so just go for it. And so yeah, it was 4th of July, I asked you out again.
Yeah.
We went shopping, and then on the way back, I said, hey, maybe we could get back together. Maybe that would be okay.
Yeah. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, that month was just a time of like really learning like what God was telling me. He was saying, this man wants to date you. This man doesn't. Look at what door is open. Like, and then like I still liked him, so I was like, okay, it makes sense. This door is open to me, so I should go through it. So I did, and
so we dated for a few more months before I asked you to marry me.
And I said no.
And you said no because I didn't
have a ring.
Because I didn't have a ring, and we were at the zoo, and it was very spontaneous.
I didn't think he was serious, to be honest.
And I was 100% serious. I was like, I don't have any plans right now, but if we want to make that commitment right now, I'm ready to do that.
Yeah.
No. Oh, okay. So then I
ask me later.
So then I got a ring, and I asked her again later.
And it seemed more real, so then I said yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got engaged in December of 22, and then married in October of 23, and that was a wonderful journey as well. We got married, and it was probably the best day of my life. It was definitely the day that I did the best thing that I've ever done in my life. And it was an incredible day. Everything went so well, and it was such a beautiful, just an incredible experience.
We have a beautiful little girl. Her name is Josephine. Aww. She was born in October of 24, so a little over a year since we had gotten married. And she's just such a blessing.
She's so cute.
She's the best.
She's so good.
Throughout my pregnancy, I was like, what if I don't like her? Because some people have this beautiful pregnancy where they're like, oh, I love my baby and I love it, like everything about it.
And they're decorating and they look all put together and everything's pretty and they're just so happy and positive.
I was put together too. But it was like, I didn't have the feelings of like loving her. But as soon as she was born and she was put on my chest, and I don't know, I just like fell in love with her. And maybe it was more gradual than that. It's been a while, but it was just amazing, and that was one of the things that was a little odd for me. Like I had always imagined like getting married because that was what I felt like God wanted me to do. But then like, what do you do after that? And really, the vocation is being a mom. Like it's such an amazing thing to be a mom and to love her and just like give her what she needs.
Yeah, confirmation from God has just been the stability and the peace. But as far as other spiritual movements that happened during our marriage, it's been a challenge for me coming from a religious background or having spent, a bit of time in a religious context, consecrated religious context, that the life of prayer is very different in marriage from what it would have been as a consecrated religious or as a priest. And those were the things that were attractive to me, and like while I was pursuing priesthood and while I was studying in seminary and things like this, I actually loved the beauty of a consistent prayer life and deep encounter with the Lord on a daily basis and
the order of it.
And the order of all of it. Yeah, the beauty of that sort of ordered life, and that marriage just doesn't have that. It has that. Like you can order your family, you can order your household, you can have a structure and the rhythm of life, and that's something that you continue to figure out. But it doesn't look like religious life. It doesn't look like being a priest. And so there were a lot of differences that were frustrating.
Yeah,
and some that still are.
An infant too.
Yeah. And now you have an infant who doesn't follow anybody's schedule.
Anything. Yeah.
She's on her own schedule, and you respond to it. And so it's been a beautiful moment of learning that sort of docility, where you kind of let go of your own expectations, and there are all these things that like, if everything were my way, this is how my life would be. Well, that's not what God actually wants for me, and His plan is better. So here's a wife and an infant. So get over yourself and live the way you ought to live, and not the way you think you should.
Yeah. A very crazy wife that doesn't follow a lot of order. She's not a very ordered person.
Well, it's that beautiful ability to surrender to each other's needs as well, and helping each of you grow in holiness, just as God calls each of us to. to help the other, right? And to will the good of the other. It's not always about what we want or
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of sacrifice, which it was a big choice to choose marriage because it is sacrifice, and that's something I had to learn. Probably, it was definitely when we were dating. I think that was a struggle before I had broken up with him.
Tell about our date on sharing food.
Oh, sure.
This was like second or third date or something, and she said something to the effect of like, if we're gonna date, like you got to get used to like I'm gonna take food off your plate, like we're gonna share food. And I was like, okay, sure.
He took like one of my French fries,
and then I just reached over and grabbed a French fry.
Why would you do that? That's my food.
Like, you're gonna have to get used to it.
Yeah, but I was talking on a bigger scale, believe it or not.
Yes, no,
I do like my food, but it was more of it was like I have to change my way of living because there's this person that needs me, and I wasn't totally ready for that before that first phase of our relationship. Like he demanded a lot of time, and I was like, I want to go play softball and volleyball. I want to like do these things with my friends, but here's this guy that also wants to spend time with me, and that was hard at first. And then the second phase, I learned that I just needed to sacrifice some of those things. So I didn't get to go out with my friends quite as much, and like now. Hardly at all.
Now that it's a home and a family, it's not just.
We make time for me to do those sorts of, and you as well.
Yeah,
to do
like we
these
have time
things,
for doing things.
It was a lot of sacrifice as well. So.
Yeah. It's a both and, right?
Right.
And so when we're single, it's easy to be like, I just whatever I want to do, that's what I do. And then when there's a couple, right? Then, okay, how do I balance that? Yes. How do I balance my needs with our needs and his needs?
But at the same time, it's sacrifice, but you gain so much from it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's something that I've learned too, is that like you grow in love for your spouse, obviously, but for your home and for the things that you actually do, need to do, the things that you are called to do and obliged to do, and like sometimes constrained to do. If a baby wakes up in the middle of the night and you have to do something, like you grow a love for those things, and you start to actually. Maybe not enjoy it every time, but you have a sort of perspective that's just like, no, I wouldn't do it differently. Like I wouldn't want it to be a different way. And I'm really grateful for all the things that I have to do, but have learned to love doing. Yeah. But aside from just like the practical side of it, the movements of God, a very strange experience following marriage that I actually experienced a lot of dryness in prayer, just spiritually, and not necessarily, probably connected to the, radical shift in the way I could actually live it out. But yeah, a time of quiet, a time of dryness that took time to actually re-enter into an actual deep spiritual life, and realizing that you can do that while being married. It's not going to look like religious life, but you can have a deep spiritual life in marriage. And we've been working with each other to make that happen too.
Yeah, that's a big struggle for me as well, because I do give so much to Josie, and I work as well, so I have my job, and then it's just where do I fit it in? But some of it's just thinking, like, or not thinking, but just living out your relationship with God as your day goes along. But I do need to sit down and have my prayer time with him as well.
We all do.
Because I did before our relationship and throughout the dating maybe. I was maybe in adoration almost every day. I would just stop by after work. It was convenient on the way home. And I just don't have the ability to do that. Like once I leave work, I got to go home and feed Josie. So it's a struggle. I'm still learning, like, when do I have time to do this? And part of it might be like my relationship with God is more important than sleep. I should be waking up a little bit early to pray and be with him. And that's a Kenzieism. My friend Kenzie always talks about that, but it's actually putting it into practice. So pray for me.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, and there's seasons, right?
Yeah.
Josie won't always be little.
Right.
And
then there's the next one.
right, yeah.
Not pregnant right now.
But yeah, I've experienced that as well. As my youngest is now 18. That the Lord is like, I'm calling you into a different maturity, a different part of prayer now than I was calling you to before, and it just grows and changes. And there's that that space where God's like, yep, I know that you had this much time for me before, right? And I know that you have this much time for alone time with me. Right. Don't ignore me. I'm there always, right? But yeah, just an understanding of the seasons of life as well. Yeah. What would you say to people that are discerning either marriage or religious life, or maybe they haven't even thought about discernment at all? Like, really, you discern marriage? Like, I thought just everybody did that, you know? Yeah. What would you say to someone that's like in that early part of their life where those are the decisions that need to be looked at?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier, but in my experience, it was like, what doors are open to you? And like, just explore those doors first. One door might be open, one door might be closed. Go through the open door. You had good advice.
Yeah, I love talking with people about discernment, and I don't know how fruitful my advice has been, but I've had some really good conversations with people, and some things that come up through those conversations, I'm just like, oh, this is so good, this is so beautiful. A couple things that I think are really important with discernment. When discerning a vocation, particularly, if you're going to approach a vocation, if you're going to pursue a vocation, start praying for particular virtues now and for growing in those virtues as you discern and as you approach it. And the particular virtues that I've told people to pray for is like, if you're going to pursue a vocation, if you're going to discern religious life or being a priest, or if you're going to discern marriage with somebody, pray for the graces, pray for the virtues of courage and generosity. Pray for courage, pray for generosity. Because no matter what your life brings you to, you're going to have to make difficult decisions, and you're going to have to do things that you're not too sure how they're going to turn out, but you're going to have to hope for the best, and you're going to have to make a courageous choice. And pray for generosity, because no matter what your life calls you to, you are going to have to give of yourself a lot. So start developing that, start practicing that, start asking God to help those virtues grow in you right now. Ask for generosity, ask for courage. And then even recently, realizing that another big part of it is pray that you will grow in trust. Because that's a really big part of it too. Trust that these things are actually going to work out. Trust that God actually does have a good plan for your life. Trust that what God has planned for your life is actually for your own good, and that He knows what He wants to do, and that you can trust Him, that He's somebody that's worth trusting. So praying for trust and courage and generosity, I think, are the biggest things that you need to ask for and grow in, even before pursuing any particular vocation at all. Ask for those things because you're going to need them. And then another thing that I like to tell people if they're discerning something is that at a certain point, you can no longer discern a vocation generally. You can't spend your holy hour every week reaffirming to yourself, I am called to marriage, if you're not actually going to be dating somebody. Or even I am called to a consecrated life, if you're not going to be, applying to the seminary or visiting a religious order or something like that. At a certain point, you need to discern particularly. You need to discern with a person, and this is a really beautiful part of discernment, is that you're never discerning alone. That any consecrated vocation, any vow that you're going to make, a vow of marriage or a vow in consecrated life, any vow that you make, you're not making it alone, and you're not discerning that choice alone. If you are called to marriage, you are called to marry a person, and if you're going to marry that person is also going to be willing to marry you. So you cannot discern separate from that. And something that I think people also kind of lose track of is that that the same is true for religious life and for diocesan priesthood. You apply for a seminary and you are in formation with people who are discerning whether or not you should be a priest, or you should be a religious sister or a religious brother, whether you are fit for this order or whatever. And at any point they can say, I don't think this is where you should be. And it doesn't matter how convicted you feel to like that you should be there. If they're not willing, then same as marriage. Like, it doesn't matter how convicted you are to like, no, I must marry you. Well, if they're not willing to marry you, then you're not supposed to marry them. So that's another bit of comfort that I think people can have when discerning things, is that pursue things and just go forward and
have courage
to go forward.
Ask her out.
Ask her out. Should I marry my girlfriend? Well, ask her. Ask her if you should marry her. Ask her if she is willing to be your wife. Because if she says yes, then it's a pretty good sign that you should get married. And if she says no, that's a pretty good sign that you're not supposed to get married.
Except in our case, when I thought he was kidding.
Right. They persevere, and no, we understood each other, But anyway, my point is that it gives comfort to somebody who's discerning something, because it takes the weight off of you. You don't have to have a absolute certainty that I am making the right choice and that have figured it all out, because there are going to be so many things that you can't know and that you can't foresee and that you can't plan on and that you just can't know about right now where you're at. And it's okay. So you can't make a fully informed decision that you're absolutely making the right choice on your own. And it's good that you can't do that, because you're not making a choice on your own. You're never going to be making a vocational choice on your own. So don't worry about figuring out whether this is the right choice for me if you're just figuring it out on your own. Well, if you think that if you're attracted to marriage, ask a girl out. And then there's all sorts of difficulties about how and when and where and whatever. But my point is that you can't discern in general forever. You got to get particular at some point.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And I think just your explanation and your experience of being able to say, I've tried this and I'm not locked in forever. Just because I went to this particular consecrated life and I started discerning doesn't mean I'm locked in. You are free to go and we're free to say no. Okay, I'm going to try this one. Nope, that's not it either. And that's okay. You can try a couple different things and see where God is calling you, whether that be into a religious life or into marriage or consecrated singlehood or whatever it is. But that permission to be this is not where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the no's might hurt a little bit for a while, but it's not the end of the world. It might feel like it, especially at least for me and maybe other women, but and for men.
Yeah, I felt that.
And for everyone.
I felt that.
Yeah. But there was a growth in that, right? Mm-hmm. And then maybe a bigger surety that you were making the right decision when you did come back together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wanted to add that I haven't asked you?
No, this has been a joy.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your story. And thank you all for watching. And if you want to learn more or hear more stories, check out our channel. We have lots of vocation stories on there. Thanks for watching.